स्टार्ट करें चल. ऑलराइट, नेक्स्ट टॉपिक, condition for collision of two uniformly moving objects. Alright guys, listen up. So two objects are moving, they can move in 2 dimension or 3 dimension, but the condition is they are moving uniformly. Uniformly matlab they are not accelerated. Alright, so what is the condition that they are going to collide? That's what we are going to see. Alright, रुक जा. Okay, have you played that game? पिट्टो हम लोग बोलते थे, तुम लोग क्या बोलते हो? पिट्टो ही बोलते हो ना? कभी नहीं खेला? You stack हाँ stones, ठीक है, देखा हुआ है, कभी खेला नहीं. Okay, ठीक है. Okay, anyway, has someone ever hit you with a ball? देखा है. Okay, while you were running, ठीक है, कोई तेरे को मारने वाला है and you are running, ठीक है, but his aim is nice, और वो तेरे को मार देता है. कभी देखा है? कभी ऐसा हुआ है? हुआ है. तेरे साथ तो हुआ होगा, रोज ही होता है. ऐसा डस्टर पड़ता है क्या स्कूल में? चौक पड़ता है. ओके, सो इफ यू हैव एवर एक्सपीरियंस दैट एंड इफ यू हैपन टू लुक एट दैट ऑब्जेक्ट विच इज कमिंग टू यू और विच इज कमिंग एट यू, ओके, हाउ डू यू फील? I mean, you feel scared, that's all right, but how do you feel? What is the motion of that object? What is the motion of that object? For example, नहीं रे, uniformly जा रहा है. Okay, suppose this guy here is going to hit this guy. Okay, this guy is running like this, so obviously this guy is not going to throw it directly at him. He'll miss. Okay, so his aim should be at certain angle like this. Okay, so he is going to throw the object like this, so that when this guy reaches here, this object reaches this point. Okay, now how is this guy going to perceive the motion of this object? That is the question. So according to this guy, okay, so when we are talking about relative motion and we are observing with respect to this person, so what happens? We stop that person. That's what we do. Okay, relative motion matlab kya? What is he going to observe? So if we are going to observe it from his frame of reference, what do? We stop that. Okay, we stop that person. According to that person, he is not moving. Okay, so according to his frame, he is right here, he is not moving. So how should the ball move? If the ball is going to hit that person, how should the ball move? Directly towards that person. And no matter where this guy is, suppose this guy is over here and the ball reaches this point, at any point in his journey, what is he going to observe? Because according to him, he is stationary and the ball is going to hit him. What is the direction in which the ball should be moving that it hits him? Always towards this guy. Always towards this guy. And finally, he'll get hit. Is that clear? And that is the condition for collision of two uniformly moving objects. Matlab, the relative velocity should always be directed towards him. You get that? So according to this guy, what is the direction of the relative velocity? The actual velocity is in this direction. But what is the direction of its velocity, relative velocity? Towards him. Directly aim towards him at any point when the guy is here. Okay, what is the direction of the velocity? The direction of velocity is that, like that. But what is the direction of the relative velocity? Exactly towards that guy. Okay. So वहां पे एक statement लिखा होगा. Condition for collision for two uniformly moving objects. वहां पे एक condition लिखा होगा. क्या condition लिखा है? The relative velocity is always directed along the line joining them. The relative velocity is always directed along the line joining them. Is that clear? Okay, we could have done a more formal derivation for this one, but we don't need it. Alright, it's very intuitive. So based on this concept, there are a few questions we want to solve. Okay, look at the first question. Read the question while I draw the diagram. Yeah, that one. No, don't read out loud. Just read till I draw that. Did you read it? This is the situation. So it's a horizontal frictionless surface. This trolley is moving at a constant velocity of root 3 minus 1 meter per second in this direction. Okay. At this particular instant, at t is equal to 0, this line from this ball to this trolley is making an angle of 45 degree to the x-axis. Okay. We know that it is going to hit the trolley. We know that it is going to hit the trolley. So obviously, he would not have thrown the object at this angle. He would have thrown the object at certain angle, and we are calling that angle phi. Alright. And it gets hit. Okay. So what is the question? The first part of the question is, the motion of the ball is observed from the frame of reference of the trolley. Okay, so you're observing motion from the frame of reference of the trolley. Calculate the angle made by the velocity vector of the ball with the x-axis in this frame. Alright, so what do you have to find out? You have to find out the velocity of the ball relative to the trolley and what is the angle it is making with the x-axis. क्या होगा? Can you think of it? Both the objects are uniformly moving and you are observing it with respect to the trolley. So just try to recollect what is the statement that I told you just now. If two objects are going to collide and they are moving uniformly, what is the condition? The relative velocity should be along the line joining the two particles. The relative velocity should be along the line joining the two particles. What is the line joining the two particles? What is the line joining the two particles? When B is here, A is here. This is the initial condition. When B is here, A is here. What is the line joining both the particles? This line. This is the line joining both the particles. So what should be the direction of the relative velocity? It should be along the line joining the two particles. That's it. So what should be your answer? 45 degree. It's that simple. Did you get that? Sure. What did we say? If two particles are going to collide and they're moving with uniform velocity, is that happening? Yes or no? Happening? Okay. So what did we say? That the relative velocity should be along the line joining the two particles. Alright. So when B is here, A is here, what is the line joining the two particles? This is the line joining the two particles. And what did we say? The relative velocity should be along the line joining the two particles. So what should be the direction of the two relative velocity? This should be the direction of the relative velocity. Correct? This should be the direction of the relative velocity. So what is the angle it is making with the x-axis? 45 degree. Uniform velocity. Is this moving with a uniform velocity or not? इसका direction change हो रहा है क्या? हाँ, इसका it is moving at its own uniform velocity. This is moving at its own uniform velocity. Is that correct? Acceleration नहीं है. ठीक है? So there is हाँ हाँ. So we are saying phi is the angle at which it is actually thrown. But what is the question? According to A, what is the relative velocity of B? Alright, we are talking in terms of or from the frame of reference of A. You get that? Okay, think of it like this. You are standing on A. Okay, would you feel you are moving? According to you, are you moving? Okay, so you put a camera over here. So according to the camera, A is not moving, and this ball comes and hits it. So how the it? Right? So this is the direction of the relative velocity from the perspective of A. You get that? Is that clear? Awkward silence. Is that clear? नहीं clear है तो बताओ. I'll explain that again. Huh? No, you missed the initial part. Okay, if two particles are uniformly moving then the relative velocity is along the line joining the two particles. It's simple. You're A. You're observing from the frame of reference of A. So what does that happen? When that happens, we make A stationary. So according to a camera in A is stationary. Right? According to a camera in A is stationary. Okay. So if this camera is observing this ball, what would that camera observe? The ball was here. Does it hit the trolley? So what is the direction in which it could move? It has to move along this direction, along the line joining them. Okay, so what is the direction of the relative velocity? This is the direction of the relative velocity. Is that clear? This is the direction of the actual velocity. Agreed? But this is the direction of the relative velocity. Is that clear? Any problem? Okay, so what should be my answer? The answer to the first part should be equal to, theta should be equal to 45 degree. Alright. हाँ वेलोसिटी वेक्टर बट किसके रिस्पेक्ट में देखो क्वेश्चन ठीक से पढ़ो द मोशन ऑफ द बॉल इज ऑब्जर्व फ्रॉम द फ्रेम ऑफ द ट्रॉली राइट सो वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द रिलेटिव वेलोसिटी वेक्टर इज दैट क्लियर ओके अब सेकेंड पार्ट में जाओ फाइंड द स्पीड ऑफ द बॉल विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द सर्फेस इफ फाई इज इक्वल टू 4 theta by 3 okay so what do we need to find out we need to find out the actual velocity okay find the speed of the ball with respect to the surface if phi is equal to 4 theta by 3. So we need to find out the actual velocity. Is that clear? Okay, let this actual velocity be v. Okay, so what is phi? Phi is equal to 4 theta by 3. 4 theta by 3 matlab kya? 4 by 3 into 45 degree matlab 60 degree. So this angle is given to us. Okay, so this reaches from this point to this point. In the same time, this reaches from this point to this point. Do you agree? Okay. Now what we can do is, now we can use equations to solve this problem. Okay. What is the basic thing? What is the basic idea? The relative velocity concept was used to find out phi, the actual angle at which it is thrown. Okay. Now all we have to do is, they are colliding. They are colliding matlab kya? If two particles are colliding, it means what? In the same amount of time, they are at the same place. So if this particle takes time t to go from here to here, the same amount of time was taken by this ball to go from here to here. Is that correct? That's obvious. Okay, so now we have to solve this. How do we solve this? We'll have to use equations. Okay, first of all, let's take this length to be L. Let's take this length to be L. Okay, if that length is L, then what do we have? Do we know this length? This length would be how much? This length would be L cos 60 degree. Do we also know this length? L sin 60 degree. Why did we take this? Why did we take L sin 60 degree and L cos 60 degree? Why did we do that? Obviously, we are dealing in two dimensions. So there is nothing we are doing, and we are not doing anything new. We are just resolving it in x, y axis. That's all. Is that clear? So what is this displacement? Displacement of this ball is L. So what is its horizontal displacements? It's L cos 60 degree. What is its vertical displacement? L sin 60 degree. Is that correct? Okay. Next. Do we know what will be this distance? The distance moved by the trolley. Let's say it takes an amount of time t. Okay. So what will be this distance? This distance would be root 3 minus 1 into t. So it is traveling at root 3 minus 1 meter per second multiplied with the time would be this distance. Is that correct? Okay. Now we can write equations. What equations can we write? Okay. First let's write the equation for the horizontal displacement of B. Okay. What is the horizontal displacement of B? The horizontal displacement of B is L cos 60 degree. L cos 60 degree. Sorry, half L. हाँ ठीक है half L. ठीक है, that's all right. So the horizontal displacement is L cos 60 degree. What is the horizontal velocity? The horizontal velocity is v cos 60 degree. नहीं horizontal नहीं. The velocity along x axis is v cos 60 degree, and this is v sin 60 degree. Correct. So can we write from here that L cos 60 degree is equal to v cos 60 degree multiplied by the time? Can we say that? Clear? The horizontal displacement L cos 60 degree is equal to the horizontal velocity V cos 60 degree multiplied by time. Okay? That is equation number 1. Next, what can we write about the vertical displacement? Now we can write L sin 60 degree उससे फायदा क्या होगा? We are not including this in the equation. We are not including this in the equation. Probably we should not use this. I'll tell you why. Because we have to use this displacement in the equation also. Okay, so what we should do is, ये नहीं लेते हैं, इसको L ले लेते हैं. Let's take this distance as L. Alright, let's take this distance as L. So what is this distance? This is going to be L cos 45 degree. Okay, and what is this distance? This would be L sin 45 degree. That's better. So for writing the equation for the horizontal displacement, can we write L cos 45 degree is equal to V cos 60 degree multiplied by T? Can we write that? Horizontal displacement L cos 45 degree is equal to horizontal velocity V cos 60 degree multiplied by the time. Okay, now let's write the equation for the vertical displacement. What is the vertical displacement? क्या? इस बॉल का हॉरिजॉन्टल डिस्प्लेसमेंट कितना है? L cos 45. ना ये L लिए हैं, ये हम लोग L लिए हैं. This distance we have L cos 45. ये डिस्टेंस क्या है? L sin 45. Okay, now we are writing equation for the horizontal displacement. So horizontal displacement is how much? It has gone from here to here. So what is the horizontal displacement? This is the horizontal displacement, L cos 45 degree. What is the horizontal velocity? V cos 60 degree multiplied by the time. Okay, what is the vertical displacement? Vertical displacement. This distance is how much? L sin 45 degree. What is the total displacement? This plus this. What is the displacement along y axis? It's this displacement plus this displacement. Is that correct? Okay, so how much would that be? That would be equal to L sin 45 degree plus root 3 minus 1 into t. This should be equal to what? V sin 60 degree multiplied by t. Is that clear? Any problem? Okay. Now what do we need to do? We need to find out V from here. Okay. If we need to find out V from here, how can we do that?
L sin 45 and V cos 60 degree.
Correct, that we can do. That we can do. So what we can do is we can substitute L from here and then we can solve this equation. Okay. So L ki jagah we are substituting V cos 60 degree divided by cos 45 degree multiplied by T. We are substituting it for L yahan pe. And then kya hoga? Then we'll have sin 45 degree. Is that correct? From this equation L यहाँ पे डाल दिया. Alright. Plus root 3 minus 1 into t is equal to V sin 60 degree into t. Clear? यहाँ से t gets cancelled. So what are we left with? यहाँ से sin 45 degree and cos 45 degree get cancelled. So what are we left with? We are left with V is equal to root 3 minus 1 divided by sin 60 minus cos 60. Alright, so this should be equal to root 3 minus 1 divided by sine 60 is how much? Root 3 by 2 minus, so यहाँ से cancel होके finally you'll have 2. Is that clear? L का वैल्यू करेक्ट. सो यहां से L का वैल्यू निकाला, V cos 60 by cos 45 multiplied by T. We substituted L here and ये sin 45 degree यहां पे. That's it. Is that clear? Okay, the important thing, the main concept in this problem is the first line I told you. उसके बाद it's just writing equations. We know that. The main concept is the first line. अगर वो line नहीं पता होगा तो हालत खराब हो जाएगी ये problem solve करने में. Alright, if you don't understand that concept, it will be very difficult to find out what this theta is. If you know that concept, it takes 2 seconds to understand that theta is 45 degree. Is that clear? After that, we are just using motion in 2 dimensions. Is that clear? Any problem? ठीक है. This is slightly advanced question. दिक्कत हो सकती है. This was in some IT JEE paper. मेरे को याद नहीं कौन सा ईयर का है. ठीक है, but this is one of better problems. But obviously इतना difficult नहीं है समझना. Solve करना हो सकता था, but समझना अभी के लिए इतना difficult नहीं है. Is that clear? You understand the concept? If two particles are uniformly moving and they collide, the relative velocity should be along the line joining the two particles. That's it. Is that clear? Can I rub this off? Okay, but we have studied relative velocity, haven't we? Just a second. Alright, but we have studied relative velocity. है कि नहीं? उसका तो कोई यूज ही नहीं किया, फिर पढ़ने का फायदा क्या हुआ? Can we use relative velocity here? हाँ? ऐसे बेकार मेथड था ये. अब अच्छा मेथड सीखेंगे. Alright, try ना, absolutely, I'll make you try. Okay, now think about this. एक मिनट रुको दो, ऐसे आंख बंद करके ट्राई मत करो. Think about this. This is the velocity of the ball. This is the velocity of the trolley. And this is the relative velocity of the ball with respect to trolley. Do you agree? Yes or no? This is the velocity of the ball. The velocity of the ball is directed in this direction. The velocity of the trolley is directed in this direction. The velocity of the ball with respect to trolley is directed along this direction. ठीक है? Is that correct? Can you make a triangle with these three velocities? Do that. Can you draw a triangle? हमको VA पता है, VB पता है, VAB पता है. What is VAB? VAB is VA minus VB. So that should fit in a triangle. हाँ कि ना? Do that. Exactly. Triangle already तुम्हारे लिए बना हुआ है. Exactly, huh? So this is the velocity of the ball. This is velocity of A. अब याद करो वो वाला प्रॉब्लम. कौन सा प्रॉब्लम? रेन मैन प्रॉब्लम. This is rain. This is man. We join it head to head. So what is the direction of the relative velocity? This is the direction of the relative velocity. That's it. Okay. अब यहां से क्या पता है मेरे को? मेरे को ये VB नहीं पता है. मेरे को ये VA पता है. This is root 3 minus 1 meter per second. I know this length. I don't know this length. But I know a lot of angles. This angle is 45 degree and this angle is 60 degree. Can we use a little bit of trigonometry and solve this? देखो तो. तू बता निकालना क्या है? हम्म। दो साइड दो वैल्यू कैसे आ सकता है? ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता है, दो वैल्यू आए। ठीक है, व्हेन आई से बेटर मेथड, सुन, व्हेन आई से बेटर बेटर मेथड, इट मीन्स लेस ऑफ राइटिंग, मोर ऑफ थिंकिंग, बिकॉज द अमाउंट ऑफ एफर्ट इज कंजर्व्ड. इफ यू आर राइटिंग मोर, मतलब यू आर थिंकिंग लेस. सो दैट्स अ स्टूपिड मेथड. So how you have, what you have to become is, you need to write less and think more. क्या किस में, सोचने में, वही चीज तो इंप्रूव करना है. That's what we are working on, right? हाँ, वी भी निकालना. Now these are just lengths. अब वी बी वी ए, अब वेलोसिटी वेलोसिटी कुछ नहीं सोचना है. These are just lengths. हम्म. चलो हिंट देखा. हम्म. परफेक्ट. मतलब बोथ आर इक्वल. परफेक्ट 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 परफेक्ट, एक्सीलेंट. ओके देखो, दिस इज 45 डिग्री, दिस इज 90 डिग्री, तो ये भी 45 डिग्री है. सो व्हाट काइंड ऑफ ट्राइंगल इज दिस? Okay, so this is VB, this is 60 degree. So what is this length? VB cos 60 degree. Now if this is an isosceles triangle, what is this length? This is also VB cos 60 degree. हो गया? So what is this angle? This angle is 60 degree. So tan 60 degree is equal to root 3 minus 1 plus VB cos 60 degree divided by VB cos 60 degree. That's it. Is that clear? VB cos 60 का वैल्यू निकल गया, तो VB का भी वैल्यू तो निकल गया. आंसर तो पता ही है. इज दैट क्लियर? And this is the method we like to follow. This is simpler, faster. Is that clear? ठीक है. Method मतलब whenever you have this kind of condition, you know that certain velocity will complete a triangle. You'll have VA, you'll have VB, and you'll have VAB. So they'll somehow complete a triangle, and वहां से you'll have to use trigonometry. Is that clear? Okay, read the next question. It is even more interesting. I know this is JEE Advanced 2014. तो डरने की जरूरत नहीं है, बनेगा. हाँ, मतलब what are you guys sitting here for? एडवांस ही निकालने के लिए बैठा है ना, कि बस हाँ 11 में ही. so preparation starts from 11th. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely नहीं. तू you solve this question और डर नहीं लगेगा. You try this question. होगा. हाँ. This is JEE Advanced 2014. हो सकता है वो. जस्ट मिस करने का मतलब वी कैन अज्यूम जस्ट हिट, मतलब दे विल हैव वेरी डिफरेंट कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज. बट जस्ट मिस और जस्ट हिट मीन्स एट द सेम टाइम दे वर ऑलमोस्ट एट द सेम प्लेस. सो ऑल यू हैव टू थिंक इज वो ट्राइंगल कैसे बनेगा. तू रिलेटिव मोशन यूज कर रहा है? Is this triangle correct? I don't think so. Read properly. एक मिनट दे. So did you understand how is the relative velocity? देखो क्वेश्चन में देखो क्या लिखा है. At time t is equal to 0, an observer in A finds B at a distance of 500 meter. An observer at A finds B at a distance of 500 meter. This observer sees B moving with a constant velocity perpendicular to the line of motion of A. ये किसके बारे में बोल रहा है? This observer, who? A. Who is observing? A is observing B. So when A observes B, he observes that B is moving perpendicular to the line of motion of A. Did you use that? That is going to give you a hint कि relative velocity का direction किधर है. The relative velocity of B is at 90 degree to A. Yeah. देखो relative velocity, if you have to draw relative velocity, listen up. If you have to draw relative velocity, एक triangle बनाना है. Simple है. You either join it tail to tail or you join it head to head. That's all. यही करना होता है ना. You join two velocities. मेरे को बनाना है. So VA is like this. VB is like this. I want VA minus VB. That means what? This vector. Either you join it tail to tail or you join it head to head, जैसे हम लोग रेनमैन प्रॉब्लम्स में करते थे. Alright, it's your call. So how are the velocities directed? किसका velocity दिया है? A का velocity दिया है. Okay. So A is moving at an angle of 60 degree. At what velocity? A30 पे है क्या? ठीक है. और ये कितना है? 100√3. Okay, so we know VA. Okay, we want to draw VB. VB कैसे बनाना है? Draw it at 60 degree. तो tail to tail join कर दो. अब I don't know, ये यहां तक रहेगा, यहां तक रहेगा, यहां तक रहेगा, I don't know. ठीक है, I don't know. तो कुछ भी बना देते हैं, पहले देखते हैं. चलो कुछ बना दिया. So this angle is how much? This angle is 60 degree. This is VB. Now who is observing whom? A is observing B. A is observing B. Then what do we need? Velocity of B with respect to A. How do we find out velocity of B with respect to A? This. Okay, that will be a vector joining the two heads and going from A to B. Is that correct? मेरे को क्या दिया हुआ है? Velocity of B with respect to A is perpendicular to the line of motion of A. यानी कि that has to go perpendicular to this. That velocity of B with respect to A, it is given in the question, is perpendicular to the angle, is perpendicular to the line of velocity of A. तो relative velocity तो ऐसी होगी ना. I don't know ऐसी होती कि ऐसी होती, but इसमें दिया हुआ है कि it's at 90 degree, so it will go at 90 degree. So this is VB. Now does it make sense? वीबी हम ऐसे बना है, वीबी पे हम मारे तुक्का, वीबी पे मारे तुक्का, डायरेक्शन तो यही है ना, इट कुड बी दिस लेंथ, दिस कुड बी दिस लेंथ, दिस कुड बी दिस लेंथ, आई डोंट नो, okay, but the direction would be this one. Okay, what is VBA? Velocity of B with respect to A would go from here, and it is given that it is going to be perpendicular, so it is going to go in this direction. But if this is VBA, VB और VA को join करेंगे तो this should give me VBA, correct? तो कहां तक जाएगा वो, टच करेगा उसको, that's all. Is that clear? Any problem? Okay, now this is 30 degree, ये 60 degree है, तो ये भी कितना हो जाएगा, this will also be 30 degree. Now think, what do we have to calculate? What do you have to calculate? Time. We need to calculate time. Okay, what is given to us? Velocity किसका दिया हुआ है, A का velocity दिया हुआ है, ठीक है, and मेरे को ये triangle दिया हुआ है, और क्या दिया हुआ है, कौन सा डिस्टेंस है वो, करेक्ट, करेक्ट, दैट इज द रिलेटिव डिस्प्लेसमेंट. Think, that is the relative displacement. So if two particles are colliding, what will be the relative displacement? No, no, if two particles are going to collide, what will be the relative displacement? ऐसे सोचो, one particle is here, one particle is here. When it reaches this point, it reaches this point, matlab there is collision, correct? What is the relative displacement between them? This displacement minus this displacement, matlab kaun sa displacement, this displacement. What is that displacement? That is the initial separation between the two, correct? Basically, if you have stopped B, ठीक है, if you are observing from the frame of B, नहीं, from the frame of A, तो B को क्या लगेगा, so B is at what distance initially, 500 meter, ठीक है, you have stopped A and that particle has come and hit you directly, so how much has it traveled, 500 meter. Okay, so when two particles are colliding, the relative displacement is also the initial separation between the two particles. Is that clear? Okay, so what do we know, what is 500 meter, is the relative displacement. Okay, so if I have to find out the time taken, and this is all uniformly moving, so it should be the relative displacement by the relative velocity. That will be the time. Is that clear? The time taken would be the relative displacement by the relative velocity. Okay, so what is the relative displacement, 500, but we need to find out relative velocity. Relative velocity कैसे निकालेंगे, from this triangle. This would be 100 root 3 into tan 30 degree. So tan 30 degree is VBA upon VA. So what is VBA? That is 100 root 3 into tan 30 degree. मतलब कितना? So this is 500 divided by 100 is equal to 5 seconds. So look at the solution. It is not even one complete line. नहीं, तुम्हारे लिए भी होगा. Right, मेरे को बताओ, what is it that you did not know? Obviously it is difficult to put all these things together in one piece right now for you. Okay, but tell me, what is it that you don't know? You know that you have VA, you have VB, and you have VBA. You can make a triangle from there. Either you join it tail to tail or you join it head to head. That's what we have done. और क्या दिया हुआ था? That the relative velocity is perpendicular to the line of action of A. That's all. कहां पे? So tan 30 degree is equal to VBA upon VA. So VBA is equal to VA into tan 30 degree. Is that clear? Okay, नीट वाले कौन कौन लोग हैं यहाँ पे? People preparing for NEET. ठीक है, तुम लोग ज्यादा टेंशन मत लेना, तुम लोग को कभी ऐसा प्रॉब्लम नहीं आएगा. ठीक है, बट इट इज ऑलवेज गुड टू लर्न. सीखने में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. इट्स नॉट दैट इट इज ऑप्शनल फॉर यू, तुमको भी सीखना है. ऑलराइट, इज दिस क्लियर? और तुम लोगों को तो सीखना ही है. Can I rub this off? नेक्स्ट सम भी करना है, सब सम करना है. चलो कैन रब दिस ऑफ. क्या नेक्स्ट सम दिखाओ तो कौन सा है. हाँ ट्राई द नेक्स्ट प्रॉब्लम. हाँ 4 में आंसर नहीं पता मेरे को, वो दिखाओ. 4 तो ऑप्शन में नहीं है. आई डोंट रिमेम्बर द आंसर. ट्राई करो और ट्राई करो. ओके फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल हाउ आर यू प्लानिंग टू सॉल्व इट. हाँ प्लान बी. हाँ व्हाट इज योर स्ट्रैटेजी टू सॉल्व इट. एक्स हाँ 2 डायमेंशनल मोशन है. टाइम इक्वेट करना है ठीक है, बट लिसन दिस इज 2 डायमेंशनल मोशन. सो एक्स के लिए यू हैव टू राइट इक्वेशन ऑफ ए, वाई के लिए यू हैव टू राइट इक्वेशन ऑफ ए. वैसे ही एक्स के लिए यू हैव टू राइट इक्वेशन ऑफ बी, वाई के लिए यू हैव टू राइट इक्वेशन ऑफ, एंड फाइनली उसको सॉल्व करना पड़ेगा. ओके कितना इक्वेशन. 4 इक्वेशन. कैन यू यूज अ बेटर मेथड. हाँ ट्राइंगल इसमें लगेगा क्या, एक बार सोच तो. अरे पहले लगेगा कि नहीं लगेगा ये सोचेगा ना. Or what you can do is, listen up, listen up. So we have used relative velocity in 1 dimension. We have also used relative velocity in 2 dimension. Okay. So if you can use relative velocity in 2 dimensions, matlab you write the equation relative to a particle, then you only have to write how many equations? 2 equations. Isn't that the better method? वही try करो. So find everything relative to A or B. तुम्हारी मर्जी. Find everything, velocity, acceleration, displacement, everything you find with respect to A or B. And then you have to write two equations. One relative motion equation along x-axis, one relative motion equation along y-axis. No, it's all right. It's all right. I have it here. हाँ, टाइम तो टी लेना ही होगा, अदरवाइज इक्वेशन कैसे लिखेंगे? हाँ. हाँ. ओके. वेलोसिटी निकाल के क्या फायदा होगा? सी कोलाइडिंग मीन्स व्हाट? देख सिंपल सी बात, देख कोलाइडिंग मीन्स व्हाट? The time it takes for this displacement is the same time it takes for this displacement. Not necessarily. First of all, you cannot use that equation of trajectory here. Why not? Because this is not a ground to ground projectile. So It's not required. What did I tell you? Observe it from either A or B. That's all. It's not a complicated question. Okay, so I'm choosing x-axis like this and I'm choosing y-axis like this. Alright? Okay. Origin का है? Origin तो माना ही नहीं. So this is the origin now. या किसको लें origin? इसको ले लेते हैं origin. Let's take this as the origin. ठीक है? Okay, so first of all, we need to write all the things in terms of relative motion. Okay, so I'm observing with respect to A. Alright, what am I doing? I'm observing it with respect to A. Okay, if I'm observing it with respect to A, पहले तो इसकी velocity क्या हो जाएगी? The horizontal component would be V cos 45 degree. This would be V sin 45 degree. Okay. Now what do I need to find out? I need to find out the initial velocity of what with respect to what? B with respect to A. I need to find out the initial velocity of B with respect to A. So this is the initial velocity of B. This is the initial velocity of A. And I only want that in which direction? X direction. So what is this direction? This is X axis for me. And this is Y axis for me. Correct? Okay. So velocity of B with respect to A is velocity of B minus velocity of A. So what is velocity of B? Minus V cos 45 degree. That is the velocity of B in X direction. Minus velocity of A, yani kitna? Minus 8. So this is minus of V cos 45 degree plus 8. Is that correct? The velocity of B with respect to A in the vertical direction, how much would that be? Velocity of B minus velocity of A. What is velocity of B? V sin 45 degree. And what is velocity of A? 0. Agreed? Any problem? Next. What is the acceleration of B with respect to A in the horizontal direction? Acceleration of B with respect to A in the horizontal direction. What is acceleration of B in the horizontal direction? 0. What is acceleration of A in the horizontal direction? 0. So 0 minus 0 is a better 0. What is the acceleration of B with respect to A in the vertical direction? What is the acceleration of B vertical direction? G. What is the acceleration of A in the vertical direction? G. G minus G is excellent. Alright. Now what? Now the displacement of B with respect to A in the X direction. सोच के बोल. When you stop A, B is somewhere going to come and hit here. So that is the displacement of B. This is here, B is here initially. Relative motion means you stop A. If you stop A and B is hitting it, it'll come in this direction and hit it here. So what is the displacement of B with respect to A? The initial separation between them. So this is the initial separation between them. Is that correct? So what is that horizontal component? Minus 6. X axis मेरा इधर है. Minus 6. This is the direction of ये इसका displacement है. So this is the horizontal displacement. This is the vertical displacement. Horizontal displacement का direction क्या है? This is the direction of horizontal displacement. What is that? So that is minus 6 meter. What is the displacement of B with respect to A in the vertical direction? So this whole thing is 6. This is 2. This is the displacement. This is the vertical displacement, relative vertical displacement. How much is that? 4 and plus 4. Because this is in the downward direction. So this would be plus 4 meter. Is that correct? Any problem? ठीक है, अगर कंफ्यूजन हो रहा है तो ऐसे करो, कंफ्यूजन हो रहा है तो ऐसे करो. You can write it in terms of I cap and J cap. Okay, anyway, इसमें confusion है कि नहीं है? Are you sure? Is that clear to everyone? The sign also? Okay. So displacement of B with respect to A, displacement of B with respect to A. We have calculated everything, every relative term in x-axis and y-axis. Now what do we need to write out? The displacement equation in the x-axis, the displacement equation in the y-axis. Okay. So displacement is equal to the velocity into time. Why? Because acceleration is 0. So that becomes minus of v cos 45 degree plus 8 multiplied by t. ये गया इक्वेशन नंबर 1. एंड यहां के लिए क्या लिखेंगे? डिस्प्लेसमेंट इज इक्वल टू वेलोसिटी मल्टीप्लाइड बाय टी. एग्जैक्टली. So this becomes 6 upon v cos 45 degree plus 8 is equal to how much? 4 upon v sin 45 degree. Now can you calculate this? जो भी आता हो. Does it come out to be 16 root 2? Perfect. Is that clear? Okay, so you could have used ground frame. तो उसके लिए 4 इक्वेशन लिखना पड़ता, इसके लिए 2 ही इक्वेशन लिखना पड़ता है. बट ऑल दैट यू हैव टू डू इज बी केयरफुल व्हाइल यू आर राइटिंग रिलेटिव वेलोसिटी, एक्सेलरेशन एंड डिस्प्लेसमेंट इन द हॉरिजॉन्टल एंड वर्टिकल डायरेक्शन. इज दैट क्लियर? एनी प्रॉब्लम? ओके, बट वी हैव एन इवन बेटर मेथड. रिलेटिव मोशन अच्छे से यूज कहां किया? वेयर डिड वी यूज द ट्राइंगल? कैन आई रब दिस ऑफ? ठीक है, कर ले. कैन आई रब दिस ऑफ? Now think about this. When you're observing a particle and it is moving with a constant velocity, how does it move? What is the trajectory? Straight line. If it is moving with a constant velocity, what is the trajectory? Straight line. When it is accelerated, what is its trajectory? It could be anything. In general terms, अगर हम लोग देखें तो we have seen parabola. ठीक है, we have seen trajectory of a projectile. उसमें क्या होता है? The particle is not moving at a constant velocity. There is an acceleration. Okay. So if you are observing relative velocity, or if you are observing velocity, and that is constant, that is uniform, what will be its trajectory? Straight line. Do you agree or not? You absolutely agree? Okay. Now I want you to get into the frame of reference of A. What is the acceleration of B with respect to A? What is the acceleration of B with respect to A? Along what? Along x-axis and along y-axis. Along x-axis, what is it? 0. Along y-axis, what is it? 0. So according to A, is B moving with a constant velocity? Absolutely. So the acceleration of B with respect to A is 0, both in horizontal and vertical direction. So that means according to A, B is moving in a straight line. Is that correct? Any problem? Okay. So when A observes B, what should be the direction of velocity of B? Towards it. So that it is moving uniformly and it hits it. So how should be the direction of the velocity? Towards it. Is that correct? Okay, but that velocity is with respect to what? With respect to A. So what do I know? I know that the relative velocity of B with respect to A has a direction along this line. Do I know that? The relative velocity of B with respect to A has a direction along this line. Is that correct? So can we find out the horizontal and vertical components of the velocity? So velocity of B with respect to A का मतलब क्या? Velocity of B minus velocity of A. ठीक है, so this is velocity of B minus velocity of A will mean what? Plus 8 in this direction. Velocity of B minus 8. Is that correct? ठीक है, या वी हैव टेकन x एक्सिस y एक्सिस ऐसा, तो क्या होगा? वेलोसिटी ऑफ b विद रिस्पेक्ट टू a इज इक्वल टू वेलोसिटी ऑफ b माइनस वेलोसिटी ऑफ a. व्हाट इज वेलोसिटी ऑफ b? वेलोसिटी ऑफ b इज माइनस v cos 45 डिग्री. And what is velocity of a? That's 8. So that is v cos 45 degree plus 8 in the negative direction. Is that what I've shown? So that is the velocity of b with respect to a in the horizontal direction. Agreed? What is the velocity of b with respect to a in the vertical direction? V sin 45 degree. That is also correct. And under the influence of these two velocities, what is the resultant velocity? The resultant velocity is directed towards this line. So can I say this is the resultant velocity of these two? What is the angle it is making with the resultant velocity? 45 degree. So can I write tan 45 degree is equal to 8 plus v cos 45 degree divided by v sin 45 degree. Can I say that? माइनस अब की जरूरत क्या है? अब माइनस की क्या जरूरत है? Yes or no? This is Vx, this is Vy, and this is the resultant velocity. And the resultant velocity is making an angle 45 degree. So tan 45 degree is equal to Vy by Vx, that's all. But all these velocities were what? With respect to the, or was relative velocity with respect to A. आई बात समझ में? ठीक है, सो कैलकुलेट फ्रॉम हियर. हाँ, नहीं, आई हैव टेकन द मैग्नीट्यूड्स ना. ये तो मेरे को डायरेक्शन दिखा ही रहा है. दिस एरो इज शोइंग मी डायरेक्शंस. आई एम जस्ट यूजिंग द मैग्नीट्यूड. tan 45 degree is equal to this length. Sorry, tan 45 degree is equal to this length divided by this length. That's all. V कट जा रहा है. ओ गड़बड़ कर दी ना. ओहो, नो 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 नो, नहीं, द प्रॉब्लम इज इन द ड्राइंग. मेरी गलती. द प्रॉब्लम इज इन द ड्राइंग. 45 डिग्री तो उसका एक्चुअल वेलोसिटी है. अरे 45 डिग्री तो उसका एक्चुअल वेलोसिटी है. द रिलेटिव वेलोसिटी वुड बी अलोंग दिस डायरेक्शन, एंड वो तो निकालना पड़ेगा. Yes, that is my mistake. Okay, so कैसे निकालेंगे? So this length is how much? 6. This length is how much? 4. So can we find out this length? So this angle? हाँ, that angle. क्या होगा वो angle? Tan inverse of 3 by 2. ठीक है, आने दो. Let's call this angle alpha. ठीक है, let's call this angle. हाँ, ये पूरा एंगल, ये एंगल चाहिए मेरे को. This is the relative velocity. This is the direction of the relative velocity. Let this angle be alpha. ठीक है. So can we write? Now ये देखो, this is velocity, vertical velocity. This is horizontal velocity, और उसका resultant क्या है? This is the resultant. ठीक है. So from here can we write tan alpha is equal to this divided by this. अल्फा इसके साथ एंगल है. सो tan अल्फा इज इक्वल टू दिस डिवाइडेड बाय दिस. सो दैट इज हाउ मच? 8 प्लस v cos 45 डिग्री डिवाइडेड बाय v sin 45 डिग्री. एंड tan अल्फा कितना है? tan अल्फा इज 3/2. फ्रॉम दिस ट्राइंगल tan अल्फा इज हाउ मच? 3/2. So 3/2 is equal to 8 plus v cos 45 degree upon v sin 45 degree. See if you get the answer. आ रहा है आंसर? क्या था आंसर? 16√2 मीटर पर सेकेंड. ऑब्वियसली मेरे मेथड बदलने से आंसर थोड़ी बदलेगा. इज दैट क्लियर? एंड दैट इज द ब्यूटी ऑफ रिलेटिव वेलोसिटी. कितना? एक इक्वेशन, दैट्स ऑल. हाँ, सुंदर नहीं था. तेरी आंखें खराब है. हाँ, 2 पेज किस में वेस्ट किया? इट्स ओके, दैट्स नॉट पेज वेस्टेड. ठीक है, नोट्स देना. हाँ, अबे तू मार खाएगा अब. ये ऐसा है, ये ऐसा है, इसका रिजल्टेंट ऐसा है. दिस एंगल इज अल्फा. ओके, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज योर होमवर्क. इस पे प्राइज है. ठीक है, इफ यू सॉल्व इट इन द ग्राउंड फ्रेम तो छोटा प्राइज मिलेगा. इफ यू सॉल्व इट इन रिलेटिव वेलोसिटी से तो बड़ा प्राइज मिलेगा. हाँ, इंटरनेट से निकाल लेगा तो प्राइज लेके भी करेगा क्या? इट्स नॉट दैट द प्राइज आई एम गोइंग टू गिव यू इज $1 million. उतना पैसा तो मेरे पास भी नहीं है. सो इट्स नॉट अबाउट द प्राइज. अगर कोई ट्रॉफी जीतता है, सोने की भी ट्रॉफी जीतता है, सो द प्लेयर्स आर ऑलरेडी दैट रिच दैट दे कैन अफोर्ड दैट ट्रॉफी. क्या क्या बात कर रहा है तू? क्यों नहीं कर सकता? क्यों नहीं कर सकता? सचिन तेंदुलकर का नेटवर्थ क्या है? तो सचिन तेंदुलकर का नेटवर्थ क्या है? वो मतलब जो वर्ल्ड कप में उसको ट्रॉफी मिला था वो अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकता है. ही कैन अफोर्ड अ फेरारी, गिफ्टिंग अ फेरारी, एंड ही कैन नॉट अफोर्ड एक सोने का कप. लेकिन वो खरीद के लेगा तो व्हाट इज द ग्लोरी? चलो, दैट्स योर होमवर्क, एंड देन लेट्स गेट टू द लास्ट पार्ट ऑफ दिस क्वेश्चन, लास्ट पार्ट ऑफ दिस चैप्टर. And that would be plain stupid. Tell me why. I'm talking practically. You have the World Cup, तो उसको गला के बेच देगा. उसका वर्थ तो समझ रहा है. इट्स वर्ल्ड कप. मिलने नहीं तो यू थिंक अबाउट दैट. डू यू नो डेविड बेकहम एक पेनल्टी मिस किया था. ठीक है, देयर सम फेमस मैच जिसमें डेविड बेकहम मिस्ड अ पेनल्टी और वो बॉल जाके पीछे किसी के पास चला गया और वो बॉल वो चोरी कर लिया. दैट वाज ऑक्शन फॉर $1 million. क्यों? प्रूफ क्या था? नहीं, इट वाज न्यूज. इट वाज न्यूज. ठीक है, एंड देन बिकॉज इट वाज किक्ड बाय डेविड बेकहम तो उस बॉल का वर्थ वो था. इसीलिए मिस किया, इसीलिए तो. और मिस किया तब तो बॉल वहां पहुंचा. ऑलराइट, ऐसे ही देयर वाज अ न्यूज कि लिसन, Madonna, she was eating a chewing gum and she spit. नहीं, listen to it. And a guy picked that up, and because that chewing gum had her DNA, and it sold for a fortune. A chewing gum. No, you think business opportunity तो क्या मिस कर रहा है? Once you have melted it, गया. वर्ल्ड कप का तो वैल्यू ही खत्म हो गया. So, अगर वो वर्ल्ड कप तेरे पास है, बिकॉज दैट इज वर्ल्ड कप, तब उसका वैल्यू है. बेच नहीं पाएगा. एग्जैक्टली, दैट इज अ प्रॉब्लम. बट होता है. कोई बिजनेस सेंस नहीं है तेरे में, कोई भी सेंस है? मतलब जो लोग साइंस पढ़ते हैं उनको बिजनेस सेंस नहीं होता है, क्या बोल रहा है? चलो, so what did we learn? Condition of collision of two uniformly moving particles. Okay, so suppose they are not going to collide. We find out that they are not going to collide. The relative velocity is not along the line joining the two particles, so they are not going to collide. But they will reach a distance of closest approach. Okay, suppose it is going like this, and this is going like this. They miss. ठीक है, सो जब ये यहां पे आया तो ये यहीं तक पहुंच पाया. दे मिस. ओके, बट वॉट डू वी नो दैट वेन इट इज हियर एंड प्रॉब्ली दैट इज द डिस्टेंस ऑफ क्लोजेस्ट अप्रोच, द क्लोजेस्ट दे कुड गेट. ओके, सो इफ टू पार्टिकल्स आर नॉट गोइंग टू कोलाइड, वी कैन फाइंड आउट द डिस्टेंस ऑफ क्लोजेस्ट अप्रोच. वॉट वॉज द मिनिमम डिस्टेंस बिटवीन देम इन द कोर्स ऑफ दैट जर्नी. इज दैट करेक्ट? ओके, हाउ डू वी डू दैट? अगेन वी आर गोइंग टू यूज रिलेटिव वेलोसिटी. कैसे यूज करेंगे रिलेटिव वेलोसिटी? फर्स्ट आई विल शो यू अ सिंपल एग्जांपल, देन आई विल शो यू अ डिफरेंट एग्जांपल. Okay, suppose this is the situation. The question is, are they going to hit or not? First of all, the question is, are they going to hit or not? What do you think? How do you know? नहीं तो पहले ही पढ़ लेते ना, हिट करने वाला होता तो. Is it going to hit or not? कैसे पता? अरे थोड़ा तो दिमाग लगा ले. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, इसको यहां से यहां जाने में कितना टाइम लगेगा? 16 सेकेंड. इसको यहां से यहां जाने में कितना लगेगा? 20 सेकेंड. हिट करेगा? नहीं करेगा. हाँ, 30 सेकेंड. कोलाइड करेगा? नहीं करेगा. दूसरा व्हाट यू कैन डू इज यू कैन फाइंड आउट व्हाट इज द डायरेक्शन ऑफ रिलेटिव वेलोसिटी. Right, you can find out what is the direction of relative velocity and see if it is along the line joining the two particles. How would you find the relative velocity? Okay, so first decide कि किसके रिस्पेक्ट में बनाना है तुमको. A के रिस्पेक्ट में सॉल्व करना है या B के? Okay, so you wanted to solve it with respect to this. Okay, so I want to find out the relative velocity of A with respect to B. Alright, what do I want to find out? The relative velocity of relative velocity of A with respect to B. So relative velocity of A with respect to B is relative velocity of A minus relative velocity of B. Okay, relative velocity of B मतलब क्या हो जाएगा? I can write it as velocity of A plus minus of VB. ठीक है, relative velocity of एक, फिर इधर डायग्राम बनाना पड़ेगा. ठीक है, इससे अच्छा व्हाट डू वी डू इज, मतलब फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, बट इसको ऐसे कर लो. दिस वुड बी बेटर, क्योंकि फिर डायग्राम इधर ही बनाना पड़ेगा. करेक्ट. सो वेलोसिटी ऑफ बी विद रिस्पेक्ट टू ए, मतलब वी आर ऑब्जर्विंग इट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू ए, इज वेलोसिटी ऑफ बी माइनस वेलोसिटी ऑफ ए. Okay, so this is velocity of B, and we have to add the negative of velocity of A. Alright, so this is the velocity. This velocity plus this velocity is the velocity of B with respect to A. Yes or no? Agreed? Okay, इसका मतलब क्या है? What we have done is we have made A stationary, and according to A B is moving with this velocity. ये किस एंगल पे जाएगा? This angle would be tan. But what is this angle? The two particles. What is this? Is 80, this is 60. 3/4 आता है ना, so this angle is 30 degree. हाँ, नहीं ये एंगल tan, ये 37. हाँ, correct. So this angle is 37 degree, and this angle is certainly, so this relative velocity is certainly not in the direction of the line joining the two. ठीक है, are they going to collide? They're not. So what we can do is we can find out closest approach. और वो कैसे निकालेंगे? वो ऐसे निकालेंगे. Okay, this will be थोड़ा स्केल से बनाएंगे तो बेटर रहेगा. Okay, so this is the velocity of B with respect to A. यानी कि A को क्या दिख रहा है? A can see that it is moving along this line. Yes or no? A can see that this is moving along this line. So what is that line? It is this line. So keeping A stationary, B is going to move like this. If B is going to move like this, when is A going to be closest to B? Which point? This is traveling along this line, and this is the point. What is the minimum distance between a line and a point? The perpendicular distance. Exactly. So A is stationary. ऐसे सोचो. A is stationary. B is moving along this line. When will B closest to A? When it is at perpendicular distance from B. Is that correct? Okay. So what do we need to find out? We need to find out this. We need to find out this length. Okay. How do we find out this length? Join the 2 points. Join the 2 points. Okay. So what is the length of this line? This is 80, this is 60. So this will be how much? This would be 100. Agreed? Okay. What is this angle? That angle is 53 degree. ये 37 था, तो ये एंगल कितना होगा? 53 degree. अल्फा कौन सा एंगल है? Alpha is this angle. Okay, so can we find out this angle? Let's call this beta. So what is beta? Beta is alpha minus 53 degree. Okay, now look at this triangle. What is this 100? This is the hypotenuse. And what do we need to find out? We need to find out this. So will that angle be 100 sine beta? Will this distance, this distance would be 100 sine beta. यानी कि this is equal to 100 sine alpha minus 53 degree. Correct? अब इसमें क्या करना पड़ेगा? This will be sine alpha, a minus b वाला फॉर्मूला लगा देना. ठीक है? So that will be sin a cos b cos a sin b जो भी होता है. ठीक है? And then जहां पे भी sin alpha या cos alpha का टर्म्स आएगा, you already know what is tan alpha. Tan alpha is 5/2. You already know what is tan alpha. Tan alpha is 5/2. So from here you can find out sin alpha, you can find out cos alpha, and you can substitute. Is that clear? ठीक है? Listen again. What are we going to do? Listen again. Okay. First of all, we'll find out the relative velocity of A के रिस्पेक्ट में करना, B के रिस्पेक्ट में करना, फर्क नहीं पड़ता. We are going to find out the relative velocity of A with respect to B. Sorry, B with respect to A. ठीक है? We have found out the relative velocity of B with respect to A. वो कैसे निकालेंगे? वो ऐसे निकालेंगे. Correct? VB plus negative of VA. Correct? Okay. So this is the velocity, this vector, these two vectors combined are the velocity of B with respect to A. मतलब now A is stationary. And then we can find out the relative velocity, then we can find out the resultant velocity. What will the resultant velocity tell us? The resultant velocity will tell us what is the direction in which B is moving. And if A is stationary, this is the direction in which it is moving. So what will be the distance of closest approach? The distance of closest approach would be the perpendicular distance from A to the line of motion of B. And then we can use kuch na kuch angle niklega, and using this triangle we can find out the distance of closest approach. Is that clear? नोट कर लो इसको. Method is not in the notes, सिर्फ question है. बिल्कुल पता चलेगा. This 53 degree is the line joining these two particles, and alpha is the direction of the relative velocity. अल्फा यहां से निकलेगा, tan alpha would be 5/2, वहां से निकलेगा. And ये तो you're just joining these two lines, these 2 points. Alright, this question, find the, obviously, the distance of closest approach. आई डोंट नो द आंसर, शो मी. एक मिनट. सो दिस इज उस डायरेक्शन में कैसे आएगा? सो दिस यू हैव फाउंड आउट velocity of a with respect to b. Sorry, b with respect to a. b with respect to a. ऐसा कैसे आएगा? a with respect to b, so that is velocity of a minus velocity of b. So then you are making b stationary na. So vab, you are trying to find out vab, correct? So va minus vb, इसका मतलब you are making what stationary? Which of them you are making stationary? मतलब किसके रिस्पेक्ट में यू आर फाइंडिंग आउट? बी के रिस्पेक्ट में ना. सो बी के रिस्पेक्ट में इफ यू आर फाइंडिंग आउट, नहीं ऐसे कैसे होगा? ये 45 इसका तो इधर है ना. सो दिस 3 इज दिस साइड. सो वी ए माइनस वी बी वुड बी velocity of a minus velocity of b. if you are finding, ऐसा होगा ना. इसमें सोचने का कुछ नहीं है. there is nothing you have to think here. You know the method, just apply.
इसका मैं नेगेटिव लूंगा तो यहाँ पे भी 45 आएगा. 45 मतलब बीच में ऐसे निकलेगा.
नहीं देख,
तो रिलेटिव वेलोसिटी ऐसा हुआ.
वैसा कैसे हुआ? सो यू आर ट्राइंग टू फाइंड आउट वी ए बी, दैट इज वी ए माइनस वी बी. ओके, सो दिस इज ए, दिस इज बी. सो इफ यू आर कैलकुलेटिंग इट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू बी, मतलब you have made b stationary. So you are trying to find out the velocity of a. ठीक है. So this is va minus vb. So this is vb. What is minus vb? तो यहाँ बनाएगा ना. अच्छा, that's what you have made. ठीक है. उसके बाद
इस डायरेक्शन में.
how? This is 4. No, this is 4, this is 3.
अच्छा,
तो कैसा होगा? अगर रिलेटिव वेलोसिटी इस डायरेक्शन में आता तब तो कोलाइड ही कर जाता. Okay, what do you need to find out? The distance of closest approach. So, obviously we are going to find out the relative velocity. किसके रिस्पेक्ट में निकालना है? हाँ, velocity of A with respect to B is equal to velocity of A minus velocity of B. Velocity of A with respect to B मतलब किसको स्टेशनरी बनाया है? With respect to B. स्टेशनरी किसको बनाया है? B को. ओके, सो किसका रिलेटिव वेलोसिटी निकालना है? ए का, करेक्ट. ओके, सो व्हाट इज द रिलेटिव वेलोसिटी ऑफ ए? वी ए माइनस वी बी. सो दिस इज वी ए माइनस वी बी, दिस इज वी बी माइनस वी बी. इज दैट करेक्ट? वी ए माइनस वी बी, माइनस वी बी मतलब प्लस नेगेटिव ऑफ वी बी. If this is VB, उसका नेगेटिव ये होगा माइनस VB. I'm adding that here. Is that correct? So what will be the resultant relative velocity? ये कितने पे है? This is 90 degree between them. So what will be the magnitude of resultant velocity? 5. ठीक है. And what will be the direction in which it is going to go? क्या? कौन सा randomly line? क्या रैंडम? अरे डायग्राम, ऑल राइट, ओके. सो this is the direction of resultant velocity. Shh, dost. Shh. Okay. Now what is this angle? Can we find that angle? So that is tan alpha is equal to 3 by 4. So that angle is how much? 37 degree. And this whole angle is 45 degree. So it is going to go along this direction. What is the distance of closest approach? This is the distance of closest approach. If I call this angle beta, this distance is how much? This distance is 60 sine beta. Correct? Is that clear? This is the direction of relative velocity. So the particle is going to go along this line according to B. So the perpendicular distance from B to that point is the distance of closest approach. How much is that? इस triangle में देखो, 60 is the hypotenuse, beta is this angle, so this is 60 sine beta. And what is beta? 60 sine beta. What is beta? Beta is 45 degree minus 37 degree. So you can use, ये तो 60 है, ये perpendicular है, तो ये hypotenuse है, ये angle beta है. Is that clear? ठीक है. So there is another question in the sheet that you can try at home. Alright, so kinematics is done. Next class we'll start laws of motion. And if your assignments with you next week, if you are ready, we can discuss your doubts. ठीक है? हाँ? कैलकुलस क्या? वो तो पहले ही करा दिए थे.